when every dimension of my mind is aligned with the realization that our true nature is that of the divine, I begin to feel this sensation of love flowing up and down my spine with absolutely no sense of space nor time. And within that moment, yes, this moment, which is the only moment, I'm in a state of pure joy. Whenever I tend to approach life from the standpoint of how can I be of service, yet am higher selfish enough to realize my life's own highest purpose, delving deeply beneath my surface, I emanate pure joy. When I am so blessed as to be in the company of a beautiful woman with a beautiful spirit on a beautiful day, and let's just say that together we begin to form a chemistry potentially as explosive as the sun. In due time, our souls, bodies, and minds intertwine so close that we become as one. And together, through mutual pleasures, we discover each other's own hidden treasure, the treasure that lies within, pure joy. Now, of course, there exist moments in which times seem to get too rough and I'm not feeling so tough, yet deep in my soul, I know that my trust in God is enough. And when I get in tune and in touch, I am able to make a conscious choice to express pure joy. Many years ago, when I was around the age of 18, 19, 20 years old, well, let's just say that against my mother's hopes, I ran the streets and sold dope, and in order to cope with the constant, contentious, unconscious, and senseless conflicts upon those corners, as well as the general lack of peace in the streets, well, let's just say that I chose to pack a piece within reach, usually someplace around my waist, just in case. See, I was living stressfully, recklessly, striving desperately to avoid catching the case from a police chase. Then it began to just be two dope boys going state to state with a briefcase. See, in order to increase rates of profit, me and my close road dog Rob began traveling to other towns trafficking. My life was unraveling at such a rapid pace. Then I come back home, and although few words were spoken, I could see that my mother's heart was so close to being broken by the looks of worry, hurt, and disappointment written upon her face. It's been quite a journey from then to now, and though I am now billions and trillions of light years from being back in that place, what I most recall beyond all my potential pitfalls and close calls is my mother's resolve and amazing grace. See, regardless of which route I chose to take, my mother never once withheld from me the love from her heart's warm embrace. And the mere thought of her unconditional love and support always seems to open up a space within my heart to be forever filled with pure joy. I am not quite sure, but I believe that it has been some combination of a lot of love, a little luck, and a touch of ambition which has fueled my transition away from that certain compliance with crime indirectly into this metaphysical philosophy that some call the science of mind. See, it was during some time that year within my first class here that I was taught the creative process and how to consciously construct my life's design, which undoubtedly has helped my light to shine as I now rotate upon the axis of my daily spiritual practice with a lot more commitment and dedication to things like meditation. Doing my best as I grow to live in life's flow and know that every day is a day for joy, gratitude, and celebration. Therefore, I'd like to say thanks to my many trials and tribulations which led to self-exploration, for I've discovered the power of faith and chosen to allow it to baptize my fears. For inner reflection through introspection has shown me that my fears are only an illusion created by doubt, no matter how real each fear may appear. And this realization inevitably brings peace to my mind. So within my heart, there's now cheer. And for me, it is now clear, as I can clearly see right now here, that our most precious gift in life, at least I believe, is freedom of choice. And within this moment, I now choose for my circle of love to forever expand. Therefore, although I may not know you personally, as sure as I'm alive, I strive to love you all universally, simply because I can. And as I now stand in reverence of people like Gandhi and Dr. King, I just like to say that I too have a dream. Well, actually more like a plan in which I choose to give, accept, and live this message of joy and love eons beyond this lifespan. And though this alone does not define me, it definitely does divinely remind me that within this scheme of things grand, that ultimately we are spirit, each having our own unique experience as woman, child, and man. But no longer do I choose to affirm this truth of our being by beginning with the phrase, I am. No. In honor of the oneness which exists throughout all existence, I now choose to begin with the phrase, we are. Because regardless of how it may appear on the surface, being made in Spirit's image, we are all perfect. Perfect expressions of love, truth, freedom, fearlessness, peace, and of course, last, but definitely not least, pure joy. And before I go, I would just like to mention that I'd like to thank you for giving me what is probably your most precious commodity, your undivided attention. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to CSL Dallas, a center for spiritual living. Whether you're joining us online, whether you are a longtime community member, or you're brand new here, know that you have found your tribe. You are seen, you are heard, you are loved. Welcome, welcome. So what are we all about here? What is our raison d'etre? We are radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, and transforming lives. We are so grateful that you joined us today. Thank you for being here. And we got Tracy Brown with us.
Hey, everybody. So I know you're here today, and we've got a fabulous service planned for you, but I want to get you thinking about next week, and I want you to be here, to be with us, because next week there'll be an amazing speaker. Her name is Esther Nicholson, and I know I can't see you, but raise your hand if you have ever heard Esther Nicholson speak, because she is amazing. And not only will she be our guest speaker, but she will also be our musical guest, and if I just can't even prepare you for that. So her theme will be the roadmap home to the authentic self. And your authentic identity is one of empowerment, one of confidence, one of safety, and one of worthiness. And she is going to wrap that up into a message that you do not want to miss. She will also be doing a workshop, and please put it on your calendar. I'm putting it on my calendar. So it'll be Sunday, December 6th from 1 to 3 p.m. Central. No matter where you are in the world or the universe, you can join in. And the theme for it is the healing code of forgiveness, freedom from racial trauma. Take a breath. Every person alive today has been affected by racial trauma. Trust me on that, and know that Esther, because of the amazing work that she has done with 12-step recovery and with other modalities, including spiritual modalities like you would get from any licensed practitioner, she will take us all through a process that allows us to recognize what trauma is in our body, our mind, and our hearts, and work through it, break it up. So please mark your calendar, be with us for the service and hear her speak and sing, but then especially sign up for the workshop. It's $35, and you can find more information on the CSL Dallas website.
Wow, fantastic. So let's have a conversation about the holidays. So it's all up and cheerful and jolly, but for some people, it may not be that. And so here at CSL Dallas, we recognize that, and we want to hold space for those people where 2020 has been a difficult year. So we are going to have a service on December 11th. It's a Friday night. It's going to be in person. It's going to be outdoors. And we're going to hold space for each other. And we're going to together heal and talk about 2020. And believe it or not, find something to be grateful for. So I hope you'll join us for that. And also, just a sneak peek, on Christmas Eve, we have the most epic and fun service ever. So it's not going to be traditional like you're used to. It's going to be directly in the homes of Dr. Peter and Karen. We'll have special guests, of course, and maybe a special choir might come in. We'll see what happens, but check it out on CSL Dallas website. So it's going to be on Christmas Eve. No reservation required. It's going to be on Zoom. It's going to be so much fun. And then, of course, keep your eyes peeled for the Burning Bowl. More information will come out as we get closer. You can find all the info on CSLDallas.org.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you get anything out of being a part of this community?
Girl, I get everything out of it, being a part of this community. Yes.
If you could fist bump me on that, then I want to invite you to support us financially, because what happens in CSL Dallas is not just at CSL Dallas. It's in your home, your heart. It touches everyone you touch. And the way that we continue to offer these programs, invite and provide guest speakers, and develop new strategies for supporting you spiritually is as a result of your generous gifts. You've been so generous to CSL Dallas this year as always, and I just want to encourage you to continue to do that. So you can give via text, you can go to the CSL Dallas website and click on donate. If you're on Facebook, you can hit the link on Facebook. Please continue to support us.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks for all that is. Gracias, 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 gracias for all that is. There will never ever be another day just like this day, so let's give thanks now. Shukuru, 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 shukuru. for all that is.
Namaste, 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 namaste for all that is.
There will never ever be another day just like this day, so let's give thanks now. We give praise and ashe. Say love, namaste. We give praise for all that is.
Grateful. I am so grateful. Are you grateful too? I sure hope so. I mean, aren't we supposed to be grateful? It's the Sunday after Thanksgiving in the United States. You got a lot of practice being grateful in the last few days, I hope. Actually, I hope you've been getting a lot of practice being grateful all month. And in fact, my whole premise today and what I've been thinking about a lot this month is that what Ernest Holmes says. He said gratitude is not only a virtue, but it is also a part of a practical philosophy of daily life. Gratitude is a virtue. It's something good. It's something that we should be striving to practice. It's something we should be doing. It's a virtue. But it's also a part of a practical philosophy of daily life. Now, think about it. Ernest Holmes wrote The Science of Mind, a faith, a philosophy, a way of life. And he says that gratitude should be a philosophy, a practical philosophy of daily life. The way that we live must reflect gratitude. In some ways, for me, what that means is gratitude is not something I do. Gratitude is how I be in the world, how I am and who I am. So the entire quote from Ernest Holmes reads like this. Gratitude is not only a virtue, but it is also a part of a practical philosophy of daily life. There is no wiser way of living than to remember every morning what life has given us and to lift our thought in thankfulness for every bounty we possess. We may be at what is in the U.S. the end of when most people think of Thanksgiving because it's the weekend after. But really, we can live in a way that allows gratitude to not just be something we do, but truly to be who we are. Now, whether you celebrated Thanksgiving in the U.S. last week, or maybe Thanksgiving in Canada a month ago in October, or any Diwali, being thankful for goodness triumphing over evil and light triumphing over darkness. This whole process of getting in touch with what does gratitude really mean and what do we have in our lives to be grateful for is something for us to do every day. I'm just thinking back a week ago, right? If you were able to watch the service last week and you observed both Dr. Petra and Karen demonstrate what it's like and what it looks like and how your feelings can be transformed into concrete statements that capture what you're grateful for, why you're grateful, and what that gratitude means to you. That's practicing gratitude. That's looking at it as way more than just a virtue and instead looking at it as a way of life. What if we practice gratitude the same way we practice meditation, or the same way we practice journaling, or the same way that we practice any of our other spiritual practices? Do you go to yoga once a week, twice a week? Do you practice yoga at home? Can you say the same thing about practicing gratitude? Now, I have to acknowledge, many of you have been to the Theology of Oprah. And so many of you probably started doing a gratitude journal when Oprah was really bringing that to the forefront. And a lot of people got introduced to gratitude journaling during that time. And it's been, it's been 20 years probably since she did that, or 15 years at least. That's important. It is a practice, but I want to caution you about one thing related to doing a daily gratitude journal and just writing down 3 things you're grateful for. Here's the caution. In some ways, it's really easy to say, I'm going to pick 3 things I'm grateful for today because I'm not grateful for these 30 things that happen. Or to be almost on the edge of spiritual bypass. I'm grateful for this that's happening in my life, and it's a distraction. I'm using it to distract me from these other things that are happening that surely I could not be grateful for. And that's really a mistake, that as we are thinking about gratitude so much this month, we've got to be really, really careful. Now, let's go back to the Bible. 1 Thessalonians, I think in the 5th chapter, midway through, where the Bible says, rejoice evermore, pray without ceasing, in all things give thanks. In all things give thanks, for this is the will of God. In all things give thanks. Yes, that means, okay, give thanks in the pandemic. Okay, give thanks in a medical diagnosis. Give thanks in the foreclosure. Give thanks in the relationship that's not working out right now. In all things give thanks. The Bible doesn't say pick 1 or 2 things that you really like and give thanks. That's not what the Bible said, the wisdom of the Bible. That's not what Ernest Holmes said. In the wisdom of Ernest Holmes and this universal spiritual principles that are woven through all of the major spiritual paths. What Ernest Holmes said was this. He said, in everything give thanks. An attitude of gratitude is most salutary and bespeaks the realization that we are now in heaven. How we love to do for those who cooperate with and are grateful for our small endeavors. Gratitude is one of the chief graces of human existence and is crowned in heaven with a consciousness of unity. Wow. Now, let me repeat just the first part of that. Ernest Holmes. In everything give thanks. An attitude of gratitude is most salutary and bespeaks the realization that we are now in heaven. I'll admit it. I had to go to the dictionary to make sure I understood what the word salutary meant. Because, in context, I kind of inferred that it was a good thing, but I knew if I was going to quote it, that at least one of you would be sending me a text message saying salutary, like, what is that? And instead of me saying, well, go look it up, I figured I should look it up first. So salutary means exactly what the context implies. It means that it is something that produces a good effect. It means that it is beneficial. It means, as a secondary definition, that it gives health, right? So in everything, give thanks. An attitude of gratitude is most salutary and bespeaks the realization that we are now, right here, in this moment, in this breath, in heaven. Now, sounds really good. And, I can think to the day when I was on my way to CSLDallas, and I was rushing because I was wanting to be on time. And I'm on the highway, and I hear this sound I've never heard before, and I know it's from the inside of my car. And I pull over, but I think I can get a little bit further and a little bit closer, so I'm driving, and then I hear metal against metal. This is not good. Long story short, my car needed major repairs. My car needed major repairs that were going to cost about 10 times the amount of money that I actually had available to me at that particular time, that week. And if you had told me that day, in everything give thanks, I would have probably looked at you, and instead of being able to say what was on my mind, I probably would have just done this. And then walked away, because in everything give thanks requires me to take a deep breath and look for the good, right? So you hear us say it all the time, look for the good and praise it. You saw it demonstrated last week, or if you didn't, go look up the video, the recording from last Sunday, and you watched Reverend Karen be faced with a question about something that would be really challenging, that is really challenging in real time. And Dr. Petra said, what is the good? What is the good? And so I admit that I'm human just like you. And so on that particular day that I described, did I cry? Yes, because I was frustrated. Did I feel ashamed because, okay, I'm an adult. I'm supposed to be able to take care of myself, and car things happen, and ashamed that I didn't have the money? Yes. Did I feel afraid that maybe it even wouldn't get fixed? Yes. Did I feel worried about how I would get from place to place when I'm in my car almost every day, at least pre-pandemic? All of that was happening. And what I remembered was a practice that Marcia Megdapore taught me many years ago, and it's very similar. In fact, exactly what you heard about last week. Marcia Megdapore said, 7 minutes. 7 minutes. What are you grateful for in your life? Now, it was easy that day because there was no drama happening in my life. And 7 minutes of gratitude, piece of cake. I can tell you all the stuff I'm grateful for in my life. If I said to you right now, 7 minutes, go, you could do it. But on a day when there is a problem, on the day that you go to the doctor and the doctor says you have a diagnosis that you didn't expect or didn't want, on the day that Dr. Petra fell and ended up with bruised ribs and pain, and was it easy? No, but we practice it. In everything, give thanks. In everything, give thanks. I know for me, like you, it's not always easy. It's much easier to say, I'll give thanks for the things that are good and pretend the other stuff isn't happening. Like, shh, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody that I don't have enough food to eat. Don't tell anybody that the person who was elected was not the person I wanted to be elected. Don't tell anybody that I'm not really sure if this relationship's gonna work out. Like, shh. When we do that, we are only hiding it from ourselves. We are not making it not happen. It's the gratitude that breaks up what we are afraid of. It's the gratitude that is like the jackhammer going through the concrete of what's difficult and breaking it into pieces that get replaced by our whole consciousness of good. There is no mistake that you hear us often say, everything is either good or it's leading to good. It's good or it's leading to good. And so even if it doesn't feel good right now, let me be grateful that this is happening, because that means there is change going on. All that is happening in our experience is that as a human being, we are going from this condition to this condition to this condition. That's all humanity is, moving from condition to condition. So what does that mean? It means that God as me is constantly changing. God as me, no matter what happens, knows what to do about it. God as me, no matter how frightened I am or how afraid I am, that the God in me, the wisdom, the joy, the peace, the wholeness within me is going to make an adjustment and is going to then move through that condition to the next condition. That is all that we're doing every day with every breath we take. And sometimes we get stuck. Did I really get ready to say that? Sometimes I get stuck. It might be you too, I don't know, but I can't speak for anybody but myself. Sometimes I get stuck thinking that God is not able to adapt to whatever's going on in my life. How silly is that? How insane is that? Some of you have heard me when I do treatment actually talk about how there is an infinite intelligence that is operating not only through more than 7 billion people on the planet, but through every animal, every tree, every plant, every ocean. It is operating as every mountain. It is operating as everything that has life. And somehow this infinite intelligence keeps all of that going. What is it that makes me think that my little part of the universe is so big, so scary, so impossible for this same infinite intelligence to navigate and to guide me through it? Like when I say it like that, are you with me? Like, that is totally crazy, right? That is just totally insane. Tracy, why do you ever think that? But I need reminders just like you. And the reminder, the greatest reminder, is for me to recognize what in my life there is to be grateful for. Either you believe that God is always working for your good, or you don't. And if you do, it's easy to be grateful. Either you believe that God never makes mistakes or not. And if you believe, piece of cake to be grateful. Either you believe Everything is good or leading to good, or you don't. But if you do, then it's so easy to be grateful for everything, for all of it, for every part of your life. Lisa Ferraro and Etika Luckett recorded a song that is one of my favorites, and the song title is Awe. But the line in the song that keeps me in gratitude is the line that goes like this: if you're not in awe, you're not paying attention. Are you in awe? Are you paying attention? Because if you are, you can be grateful in all things, in everything. I also use as a reminder in my own life some words that some of you may be familiar with. They're words from Earthseed, the Books of the Living. Earthseed, the Books of the Living. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Earthseed is a fictional philosophy that and a way of life that's used as a guide in the book by Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sowers. And when she wrote this book, she created this fictional philosophy. But when you read the book, sometimes you're reading Earthseed and you're going, did Ernest Holmes write this? All right. It's like it's so metaphysical and it is so clear and so in alignment with what we study and teach and practice that often I find myself quoting Earthseed. And so in, I think, the 25th chapter of Parable of the Sowers, she wrote this, and Earthseed teaches this. Create no images of God except the images that God has provided. They are everywhere, in everything. God is change. Seed to tree, tree to forest. Rain to river, river to sea. Grubs to bees, bees to swarms. From many, one. Forever uniting, growing, dissolving, forever changing, the universe is God's self-portrait. So when the pandemic went into full force in the spring and we were required to stay in and not connect, and 90% of my expected income evaporated in less than a week. 90% of my income expected for the next 3 to 4 months. What I had to remember, what I chose to remember, was that God is change. The seed that is becoming the tree, how many changes did it have to go through to become that oak tree? That acorn had to feel like, if acorns have feelings, like everything was disintegrating and everything it knew was no longer applicable, not recognizing that it was changing into something purposeful. And when that became a sapling, and then it had to expand and grow into something it couldn't even really imagine, but the truth of it was so innately included in its DNA, in its internal intelligence, that it became the oak tree. That is what I had to tell myself and be grateful for what I didn't know would be coming, but I was sure it was coming. I was sure it was coming, and I was grateful for everything in my life and in the lives of everyone I knew being turned inside out, because I believed it was an answer to decades, if not centuries, of prayer for humanity to become more loving, for humanity to depend upon itself. And I would be every day grateful for my life, that I had breath, that I wasn't ill, that I was able to connect with clients, potential clients, that I was able to pray, that people were asking me to pray with them and for them, that I could make a contribution. I mean, every day I was like, but I'm grateful for this and this and this and this. I can't change the pandemic. I can't make COVID-19 go away. But back in March and April, when I was going through my own personal crisis and financial crisis and, all of it, I was still grateful. That's what we're talking about. The universe is God's self-portrait in you, as you, and through you. So I'll close with some words from Ernest Holmes that remind me that this gratitude thing is not just something to do. And it's not just something to do when times are great. It's not just something to do when times are tough. It is something to be, something to do every day so that it makes me become who I am. Ernest Holmes in 365 Science of Mind wrote this: "We cannot doubt that the Spirit has already made the gift of life since we live. Ours is the privilege of acceptance. Thus, we are to assume the attitude of a grateful beneficiary of the divine gifts." So let's close out the month of November recognizing ourselves as a divine gift, recognizing that everything we experience is a divine gift. I am a beneficiary of the best that divinity has to offer. What about you?
In this moment, in this space, I see God in every face. Perfect love we gather round, standing here on holy ground. Grateful that we are together, grateful for all that we are, grateful that we are together, grateful for the love and the joy that we share. Hold this space, for we are held in perfect grace. Being together side by side, feel the floodgates open wide. Grateful that we are together, grateful for all that we are, grateful that we are together, grateful for the love